All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Athlete and Artist Show. I am the artist and host, Kyle Fortune. Today, our athlete in the building today is the fourth-ranked Canadian mixed martial arts heavyweight in Canada, the owner of Canadian Mixed Martial Arts Center in Lethbridge, and coach of multiple UFC and Bellator competitors, Mr. Lee Meehan. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I know you've been busy lately dealing with the havoc of running a business during COVID and coaching athletes. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on. Just quick for the listeners, kind of how we met. We met about 11 years ago now, I guess, when I was 15 years old. You gave me my first amateur MMA fight, Rumble in the Cage 40,
Nice.
2010. It was crazy times thinking that was that long ago already. Time flies.
Yeah.
That was my first insight that mixed martial arts is definitely a way different sport than I had previously competed in with hockey and judo.
Yeah.
If you want to just give a quick rundown of your career, how did you get into mixed martial arts or combat sports in the first place, and then kind of what led into, leaving the competitive side, at least focusing more on the coaching side and opening up your own gym?
Yeah. I started doing traditional martial arts, Kempo karate. I was training with my brother, and just loved it. Loved the aspect of the sparring and the combat side of it. And I was working security, so I was always looking for what worked and what didn't work, and breaking that down. And I started getting into kickboxing, and you see the UFC, and you start seeing the grappling. You start exploring with that and playing around with it. And I met Mr. Roy Harris at a seminar. I started training with him. He's my jiu-jitsu coach.
Okay.
And I met Boss Rutten at a fight card, and so I hooked up with him. I started training under him.
Oh wow!
So he's my MMA coach. So I have a black belt with him in MMA. I have a black belt with Roy Harris in jiu-jitsu, and then I have my black belt in Kempo karate that I started with. So I just got into just want to do what works and what's real, and just love this sport aspect of it and the self-defense aspect, and I did. Just loved it and trained and wanted to fight and compete and challenge myself. So that's how I started back in the day. So
that's crazy. I didn't know you trained under Boss. That's it. That's insane. What card did you hook up with him at?
I don't even know. It might have been an MFC that he was there as a guest appearance. I think that's where it was. And I met him, and then I talked about, what would it take to train with him, and, swap phone numbers and head down to California and started training with him, and brought him to Lethbridge a couple times, and just, been friends ever since. So
did you already have your gym up and running at that time, or when did you go from focusing on the competitive side or training to coaching?
Yeah, I started teaching pretty soon, actually, with the Kempo karate, just being athletic and loved to fight. So it was kind of a natural thing. My brother was teaching, and he was my instructor, and I was teaching under him. And so I was teaching right away, and we're running classes doing the Kempo karate, and that just progressed to where we started doing more combat style stuff and the kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, and started implementing that in our classes. And the same time I was competing. So I've kind of been doing, trying to learn what I need to learn as I was going and traveling and bringing people in because it wasn't around. And doing that back in the day, and still competing the whole time. So nothing's really changed for me. Just keep teaching, keep learning, passing on the information to people who want to do it. Still traveling and training and learning stuff from everybody I can, and still with Boss Rutten as my instructor, and still with Mr. Roy Harris as my jiu-jitsu coach. And a lot of people don't know this about Mr. Harris, but he's proficient in multiple martial arts, combat styles. So he's known as a jiu-jitsu guy in our world, but in reality, he's an expert when it comes to weapons as well, stick and knife fighting, throws, takedowns, striking, from kickboxing to boxe français savant. Like he does all that stuff.
Wow.
So I've learned so much great stuff from him on combat, and he's my my go-to source when it comes to martial arts. So yeah,
that's insane. Why did you choose Lethbridge to be the home base for the gym?
Just where I was living when I started learning from my brother, and I like Lethbridge. I didn't want to leave, and and so that's where we are. Been here for 25 years teaching here in Lethbridge now. So yeah.
You kind of made Lethbridge like the hub of MMA for a little bit after you opened the gym and started putting on events. like it just grew, and it seemed like, at least back when I started competing or getting into martial arts, like it was all the events were out in Lethbridge, whether it was Rumble in the Cage or some of the other promotions that went out there after you. It just seemed like Lethbridge was like the spot to be for mixed martial arts.
Yeah, I mean, it helped that, because I wanted to compete, and I had students that wanted to compete. I looked at it as, well, I could put an event on, bring, fighters from wherever in and pay for their gas, pay for the hotel, and have them come in and, challenge themselves. And then our family and friends get to see what we do. Because a lot of times, guys are training all day, and every night after work, they come to train, and the weekends they're training, and people are like, what are you doing that you're gone all the time? And no one really knew, back then, especially, no one knew what we were doing. Like, it's hard to explain you're doing MMA or you're doing, UFC stuff,
Yeah.
So that just helped that we're able to showcase to families and friends what it was we were doing. And we just, gave that as an opportunity to put on events that, were ran properly. Fighters enjoyed coming here and fighting, and they still do. And I saw an opportunity to give people an opportunity to compete and hit that bucket list of things they want to accomplish in life. They want to try at least a fight and see what it's like. Whether they want to continue with it or not, but at least it was on their list of things they wanted to try.
Yeah.
So just providing that opportunity for them. And we've also used our Rumble in the Cage events as an opportunity to give back to the community through charities and raising money for different charities. And that's been the hardest thing with the COVID hitting right now is, one, athletes can't compete, but also we can't raise money for any of the charities. So a lot of charities really relied on the funds that we provided to each show for them, and now we can't even do that. So it's frustrating.
For sure. Yeah, it definitely is frustrating, especially being a business owner and a coach, and like you said, being so involved in the community. It's almost like your hands are tied and you can't really control it, and you feel bad, you feel shitty, but I mean, with the way things are going right now, it's like, fuck, what are we gonna do?
Exactly.
Like RITC you kind of grew that into a big brand too. Like you had a lot of big names come out and fight. Like you had Jason High, who was on the card that I fought on. Rory, you had Rory McDonald before he was Rory McDonald. He fought Jordan in Jordan's debut, didn't he, at Rumble in the Cage?
Yeah, they were both 16 at the time. Yeah, so
it was a pro fight too.
Yeah, creating a platform for people to compete. It didn't matter where they were from, and because we did regular shows, and back in the day there was hardly any shows going on at all, so we were doing 8 to 10 shows a year, and then other cities started putting on shows. There was other places to compete, so we could go there and compete, and I didn't have to do all the promoting and create opportunities. So it was great, and I've always supported all the other shows out there, and I think it's important that we support all the shows, and we give athletes a chance to showcase their skills and develop their skills, and that's kind of what I look at is that I don't have to be the biggest and best show in the world. I just want to be a well-run show that fighters enjoy coming to, organized, runs smooth, starts on time, just little things that I find most shows don't do today is actually run it properly. And it's very frustrating as a promoter to see how poorly ran they are. And then as an athlete, to jump through the hoops you have to fight nowadays with commissions. And have promoters that drop the ball on being organized and how they communicate with athletes. It's very frustrating, but you put up with it because there's so few shows going on. That now you don't have a choice but to put up with the crap that goes along with it. So there's still a few out there that do a great job, but majority of them drop the ball on lots of levels. So it's frustrating. But again, it's not my show. It's not my place to tell them how to run their business. But I'm looking forward to when we can open up again and start showing people what a real show is like. So, for
sure, yeah, I definitely remember even just from being 15, like it was my first experience, and everything was so welcoming. Especially for the newer guys, that's a big step going into your first martial arts fight, especially when guys are fighting, as teenagers. Like the kids are getting in there, it's nerve-wracking. So one of the biggest things is made the guys feel really comfortable. It was a good production, great fans. It was a very, very professional event and promotion. And you mentioned the commission there, and I think one of the things that was frustrating, at least for me, and probably as a promoter too, at least around here, depending on where you were, the rules are all different. Like the rule, at least for amateur, like in Calgary, at the time there were no head kicks, no ground and pound. And in Lethbridge, it was normal rules. So I think that also, like, a lot of guys really love fighting out in Lethbridge. I don't know what the rules were in Edmonton, but it just catered to real mixed martial arts. And I think at the time it was like Calgary had a boxing commissioner. They were just used to boxing, so it was just a weird rule set for the amateur guys.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that's frustrating to me as well, as I travel around, not just with my show, but other shows, and coaching guys in UFC and coaching guys in Bellator, and literally been around the world with MMA and see different commissions and how they run things, and the good, the bad, the ugly. And then, it's just frustrating that common sense can't prevail on all levels. And you get the bureaucrats and the people don't even know any clue about what the sport is. They've never done it. They've never trained it. They just take a position of power, and they want to dictate what happens. And they don't want to listen to anybody that's involved in the sport of what would make it more efficient, make it better for everyone involved, not just the promoter, so they can keep doing shows, but for the athletes and the commission and the fans, what makes it great for everybody. And they're not willing to listen, or not willing to change. And that's what's, makes you want to bang your head against the wall. So, yeah,
definitely. I've definitely dealt with a lot of different promoters, and there's, like you said, there's some that have zero clue what they're doing in this business. Especially back in the day when it was still new. I can't even list off any promotions that are around Alberta anymore besides yours. Like, there's nothing really. It was on the rise so much for a little bit, and then even before COVID hit, it seemed like it kind of plummeted around here. I don't know if that's just me being out of the game for so long, or
well, I think pretty much Unified is the only show like up in Edmonton there, River Cree and stuff, and Sonny does a great job with his show. It's well run, it's organized. I love having guys fight on that show. I love fighting on there myself because it is ran properly. So that's my shout out to them for doing a great job. And Fight Night has been doing some shows, and it was nice to support them, and they would do shows in Lethbridge. We gave our guys a chance to fight as well. So there's people trying, but like you said, now with COVID, it's kind of frustrated everybody. So
for sure. And let's touch on that really quick. So as a business owner and as a coach, obviously it's been super frustrating for you. And like you said, you want to bang your head against the wall because the regulations are changing every 5 minutes, it seems like. And half the time, they don't make sense. So what's kind of the biggest challenge or the biggest adaptation that you've had to make where you can still run somewhat of a business if they'll let you?
Yeah, you know what? For us, the situation, they go from locked out completely, you're not allowed to do anything, to, okay, they're going to, grace us with the privilege of working. And we get to have private one-on-one training. So you adapt to try and make that work for everybody. And then the latest thing, they cut it out again. And it's just, again, no rhyme or reason to anything they do. They have no proven numbers of cases related to gyms. And so they're just randomly just pick and choose who they can pick on. They're being bullies and like typical bully, they pick on the people who can't, not that we can't defend ourselves. We're not in a situation financially to fight back like big corporations are, like the NHL and groups like that. Why are they allowed to play? Why are the Lethbridge Hurricanes allowed to play hockey, but yet my athletes, my pros, amateurs, they're not allowed to train for a fight? No rhyme or reason to any of it. They make it up as they go, and we don't have the power to stand up to them and say anything because we're a small business. We're a small group. MMA's new. We don't have the clout that other groups have. We don't have the money that UFC has, so we can't come in and make requests and make it happen because there's no financial gain to the province for it happening by us doing our thing, and they don't get to control us. They get to control us. They don't control the big companies as much. And that's the biggest frustration with the whole thing.
And you still have athletes that are competing at the UFC and Bellator levels right now, don't you?
Yeah, my son Jordan, he's still fighting for Bellator. I got some guys that are fighting now for out in BC coming up on the BFL and the BTC show coming in June 4th and 5th. So we got guys trying to prepare for those, but now we can't even do that. So
that's what I was going to ask. Crazy. How have you been able to, give these guys the level of training that they need to get out to these events and do well and be prepared and be successful? Is there a way? Is there a way that you were allowed to work around anything? Like you mentioned the one-on-one training sessions. Obviously, like that's tough to prepare a guy for, but like, it's something. So
and that's pretty much all we've been able to do. It before it was the one-on-one training and guys are doing that. And again, guys are training on their own. They're going for runs. They're hitting pads with their friends in the, at a park or something like that, or at home in their basement. But again, it's not what it's supposed to be. It's not right. Again, there's no. It's just totally frustrating because again, they make it up as they go. I'm not allowed to run my business where we clean all the time and it's sanitary. We know exactly who comes in for every class when we were allowed classes. We had a role. We track everybody that comes in our building. That's just what we've always done, right? So we're not allowed to do that. But I can go to the cafeteria at the hospital where there's known COVID cases where people supposedly are dying from COVID. They're in the hospital, but yet I can go to the hospital and eat in the cafeteria with people from all levels, like all floors in the hospital. Someone in ICU can come down and eat lunch right next to me. And they were just contacting someone who has COVID. And we can all sit there and eat lunch together with no mask on. No safety stuff in place because it's allowed. But I can't go to a restaurant in town and eat inside because it's too dangerous. Now I can't even eat on a patio outside because it's too dangerous. I'm not allowed to train in a work environment with people I know and sanitized because it's too dangerous. But yet I can still eat lunch at a cafeteria at the hospital.
Yeah, those are the things that just blow my mind, don't make sense to me at all. Like, again, as you mentioned, and I know this from experience too, gyms and especially martial arts academies are some of the cleanest, most sanitary places that you can go to because you're cleaning after every single session. And like you said, every single person that's going in there. It's just, it blows my mind that there's businesses like you suffering and they're, like you said, they're bullying you to the fact where there's nothing that you can really fight back with. You mentioned Jordan there again. How natural was it that he followed into your footsteps, kind of getting into martial arts and being a competitor as well?
Well, yes, it was pretty natural because he just grew up at the gym with me and he always liked to compete. He was doing tournaments, point fighting tournaments when he was, 5-6 years old type thing. And just grew up in it. And it's always just made it to be fun. If he enjoys doing it, keep doing it. If you don't enjoy it, don't do it. I've never pressured him to compete or fight or when he wanted to go play lacrosse, I encouraged him to do that. And he went and did that. And he's like, oh, I want to fight again, So he's always had the freedom to come and go as he pleased. My thing has been, and it didn't matter if he played lacrosse or football, is if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. You're going to commit to it. And you're going to commit for the season. If you're going to fight, you're going to commit to it. You're going to put time in. You're going to put the right training in. You're going to compete. If you're not, then don't. But you got to pick and choose. You're going to do martial arts because it's recreation and it's what you want to do for fun. Lots of people do that, and that's awesome. But if you want to compete, that's a different level of accountability, right? And that's a whole other thing. And I just expect all my athletes to compete at that same seriousness. So
for sure. And both of you guys have never really been like the biggest trash talkers or like social media pot stirrers type thing in terms of fighting. And you see that like it's almost a different game now, and at least for a lot of the guys in like the UFC or guys trying to come up, trying to be like the next Conor McGregor type deal. What made you decide to stay humble and not go like the trash talking route to try to sell fights? Or same thing with Jordan? Like, what did you guys just want to keep it that traditional martial arts, classy, respectful way?
I think it has to be real. And I'm not that way, and neither is Jordan. And do we love it when people do that? Sure. I love it. I think it's hilarious. I think it's great promo. Do I want to do it personally? No. Does he want to do it? No. Some of my guys kind of like it, but our team isn't that way either. It's, it's a culture you create. And I've had guys that kind of lean towards that. And I tell them if they want to do it, go ahead. So it's not me, it's them. And if they feel comfortable trash talking or calling someone out, then go ahead and do it. But we're going to fight anyways. That's the beautiful of the fight business. You sign a contract, you're fighting. You don't have to shit talk somebody to get a fight with them. You get it. So I don't see the point in it. I think I like the art side of it, the traditional martial arts side of it, where we get to showcase our skills. We go in there, we compete hard. It takes another opponent to make the fight happen. And if you both, put on a great event and a great show and a great fight, that's good for everybody. The promoter, the crowd, you challenge yourself, you challenge him. If someone doesn't bring a good fight, well, you didn't get challenged, and you want that as an athlete. You want that as a martial artist. You want that pure moment, that challenge. And so that's what I strive for. But if guys want to trash talk and that's their thing, and I'm okay with that too. There's guys that are good at it. And it takes two. So it has to be a good guy and a bad guy. So if the other guy's going to be a shit talker and want to call people out, well, then I got a whole team of guys that'll be the good guy. Yeah. That'll go in and fight that guy no matter what, right? So that doesn't matter to me how it happens. I think you just got to do what feels natural.
Do you think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, for the longest time in MMA fighters have been super underpaid compared to other sports, and they saw, the money that Conor made after he blew up and started running his mouth and doing promo, and he did it very, very well and made $100 million in a boxing match. Do you think that has something to play into it? Guys want to try to just make more money?
Yeah, no, it's a factor. They see that and okay, what do I have to do to be like him? So they try and, copy what he's doing. And again, some guys copy it well and do a good job. They make it real. They make it natural. They've prepared their lines enough, kind of like the pro wrestling thing. It's all a spiel and a shtick that pro wrestlers use. And Conor copied lots of those guys and what they said and how they said it, and which is fine. But he made it real, and you believe he's the first person to say it like that, but he's not. But that's what people want to believe, and they see it that way because that's how he portrayed it. Some guys try and be that trash talker, and they come across as cheesy and corny and scripted, and then that's worse, I think, right? So, you take what you get, and the biggest frustration I have is the promoters that can pay more don't pay more, and that's being the UFC, right? They have the ability to pay guys what they're worth, and they choose not to. Yeah. And so it takes guys like Conor to sell a fight to make the money be there, and which is good for him that he did that. He promoted himself, and he found a way of making himself rich, and good for him. And he has the skills as well, and that's great. I just think it's, I have no problem with guys promoting themselves, and it helps as a promoter. If I got a guy talking lots and promoting his own fight, that helps me. For sure. But at the end of the day, I'm the promoter. It's my job to promote the fight, promote the show, not the fighter's job. Now, if they do it, does that help? Absolutely. Do I love it when they say stuff and share and do whatever? Absolutely. And I get that side of it. But as a promoter, it's my job to promote. It's their job to show up and fight, and put on a great show. That's what I ask of the fighters. So a little bit of everyone helping everybody would be great. So if the UFC, would help the fighters a bit more and pay them a bit more, especially when you consider the money they're making. Yeah. They talk about being, like other sports, NFL, hockey and basketball. They claim to be one of the big four. Well, they don't pay like the big four. No. Is there a couple guys that make some good money? Absolutely. But overall, the pay scale is really low. Now, that being said, MMA is new compared to other sports, hasn't been around as long. But, that also comes back to other sports don't have monopolies either. They don't have total control. There's unions, there's players' unions. There's stuff like that now to ensure that the athletes get their fair share. And the MMA is so new that hasn't taken place yet. And competition isn't there yet to make that challenge, happen where there's somewhere else to go if the UFC isn't paying what they should pay. And again, they're in business to make money, and they're in business to do what's best for them. And I get that as well. And they have the right to make money, and they have the right to do what they want to do because it's their company. Yeah. I just think it could be a win-win for everybody if they did things a bit different. And, again, come back to fighters. There are a bunch of, a lot of fighters are flaky, unreliable.
That's true.
Feel entitled. And so I see their point of view when they're like, no, they're just going to pay the minimum and do the least they can do. And that's like typical jobs, right? The boss only pays what he has to keep a guy employed, and the employee only does what he has to keep employed. And that's not good for anybody. But that's just culturally kind of the way it is. But again, I think if we're truly in a mindset of trying to help each other be the best we can, that would change. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. So,
do you think that plays a factor into there being so many of these like celebrity boxing events now? Like the guys like the companies like Triller and the Paul brothers that are doing all these fights. And would you ever host one?
Yeah, again, they're doing their job to sell themselves, and they have a celebrity status they built through other things. They have a media following. They got large social media numbers. So to have someone like that fight on your show is a good thing, because people are going to tune in. People are going to buy the pay-per-view. And the fighters want to fight those people because they know they're not that high skill level, but they sell and they make money, and the fighters are going to make money by fighting them. Yeah. So of course they want to take those fights. They want to challenge those guys to fight. And good for that guy for saying, hey, I want to challenge myself by competing in boxing or MMA or whatever it's going to be. I'm going to challenge myself doing that, and I'm going to make some money doing it. And good for you. Make as much money as you can. Life is short. Your opportunity to make money is, comes quick. So take advantage of it. So I would definitely, I used to love watching the Pride fighting back in the day, and they'd have the Goliath matches, and the big 400-pound guy versus the 160-pound guy, and the freak show fights. And I find all that stuff entertaining. You know what I mean? And there's a place for it all. And there's also the best 185 pounder fighting the best 185 pounder, and then we have some giant guy fighting some small guy, like whatever. If two guys agree to it, I think it should happen, right? That's the way it should be, and the fans want to watch it and pay to watch it, and it should happen. So
you don't think it hurts the sport at all? Because a lot of I think it's pretty split, or maybe it might be favoring into people saying that it's hurting the sport of boxing, because guys like Jake Paul are coming in here and they're selling all these tickets, but they're not real boxers. They're making the sport look like a joke. There's a lot of athletes and boxers that are saying that. So do you agree with that, or no?
Oh, I see what they're saying, but that's also their ego playing into it, saying, well, they're frustrated. They spent their whole life honing a skill, and then some guy who only has one fight, two fights is making more money than that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then go get yourself 10 million followers on social media first, and then become a boxer.
Yeah.
Or train yourself and become a really good boxer, and then build a social media following, if that's what it takes. But don't complain, don't hate on somebody for being successful. That's my view. Does it hurt the sport? No, because you got to understand it's a different thing. I think a guy like Floyd Mayweather hurts the sport. He makes millions of dollars and fights the most boring fight. I can't even stand watching the guy fight. And I don't care how good he is. He doesn't finish people. He doesn't go to finish the fight. He just shows up and puts his 12 rounds in. Like, I could care less about that. It doesn't entertain me at all. And he might be a great boxer, might be a great person. I've never met him. I don't know. But I don't enjoy watching his fights. I'd rather watch a guy like the Paul guy and have him fight, win or lose. I'd rather see a guy go in there and put it on the line than some guy is going to win because he's going to jab and run for 12 rounds. Like that drives me crazy. So,
do you think that the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight was fixed, or do you think that Paul legitimately hit him with a good shot and Ben was out?
Yeah, again, it's people ask me who I'd bet on in fights MMA. I would never bet on MMA because anything can happen. So, you throw a 1-2 down the pipe and you catch a guy in the chin, doesn't matter who it is, they're going down. So I don't think it was fixed, but I think anything can happen. Do I think Ben Askren trained hard and got ready for this fight? No. He still has a chance to make some good money, and people are complaining and saying whatever. Well, guess what? He can take his money that he has and rub it on his boo-boo on his chin and feel better about it, right? So good for him. He made some money. He could make, if UFC was paying properly, guys would stay longer, and they would keep plugging away, and they would do their thing and get better. But they take these opportunities for these celebrity fights and these freak show fights because it's a chance to make some money. They still get to do what they love. They go home to their family and friends that really care about them, and they do these things to pay the bills and go back to teaching or what else they do to make money. So
Ben was saying that it was his highest payday ever, like in his entire martial arts career.
Yeah. So good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just one more before I know you have to go here. You've fought some really tough guys. You fought guys like Dan Severn, James McSweeney, Tim Hague. Who's the toughest guy that you've ever had to fight?
It's tough to say because everyone's so different. Fighting styles are different. Where was I at in my career as far as health and fitness, and those are all factors in there. I look at it as what's the challenge of each person. Okay. And, my last fight was against Chao Machado on the BFL show, young up-and-comer, talented fighter with a great team. That was a great challenge to me because, I'm more than double his age, riddled with injuries, but it's a challenge to get up. Because I had that fight book, I trained every day. Sure. Right now, I got so many injuries. I'm not even training at all because of my injuries I have right now. But if I had a fight book that motivates you to train, so that's a good thing. McSweeney and Dan Severn and guys like that, they have a name because they were fought in the UFC and whatnot. Great. Physically, they're a great challenge for me. But the best part about the whole martial art thing is meeting the people that you meet. I compete against them. Dan Severn, for example, we fought in Saskatoon, a small show in Saskatoon. A few hundred people there watching. Well, anytime he's ever come to Lethbridge with pro wrestling, and he's called and stopped in my gym to say hi. Which that's cool to me. That's a unique thing in my mind. And I can still chat with James McSweeney on social media and ask him how he's doing. We built a connection. I get to meet teams and athletes. We're here on this podcast today because you fought on my show how many years ago? Yeah. I mean, that's a great thing. I meet so many awesome people who have like goals and different goals, and we all have our lives and we all do our things, but we have a connection through martial arts. And if there's no more fight cards, that sucks because I love fighting as a sport. Yeah. But I would still teach martial arts. I would still do stuff because I get to connect with people in the community. We help build a better community because of it. Now, meeting teams around the world through competition, that's another bonus. I traveled to Mexico for holidays when we could travel before Trudeau eliminated that, and I could go anywhere and I could go teach class and meet new people and new connections and new friends. And that's what being a martial art to me is about. Not just to kind of defend myself in a situation, yes, but I also have a connection with people. And so being able to compete against these high level people and challenge myself physically is great. But the bonus is I got to meet great guys and lifelong friends now because of it. So that's what's amazing to me.
Awesome. I love that. And I totally agree. I still chat with one of the guys that I fought that knocked me out embarrassingly for me in front of 2,000 people, but we still chat. Sometimes we're talking shit just for fun, but but we're buddies. Awesome, Lee. Thank you so much for coming on, taking time out of your day to be here. Is there anything else that you want to say or promote? I'd say promote the gym, but I guess you can't really right now. But Canadian Martial Arts Center in Lethbridge. When things open back up, ladies and gentlemen, check it out if you want to learn from some of the greats and legends in the sport, like Lee Meehan.
Thank you. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lee. Have a great day.
You too.
Awesome. Bye.